We begin at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. USC, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Showing up to play Colorado. The Trojans are 21.5-point favorites, over under of 73.5. USC, little bit of a slow start against Arizona State. That game was 21-13 at halftime, and they had each had about the same amount of offensive yards. Yikes. Can't have a slow start like that again. Curious to see what it looks like for the Trojans in the first half. As Caleb Williams goes up against this Colorado defense, Tom, what's your what are some of the matchups that you're looking at, or some of the angles that really intrigue you about this game?
I mean, it's similar to last week. USC's offensive line isn't nearly as good as Oregon's, so there's some questions there. It's just, how the hell does Colorado get stops in this game? Like, how do they not get torn apart by this offense? It's like USC is going to win the game. To me, it's a question of how many points USC scores and how many points Colorado could put up against it, because I do think this is a better matchup for Colorado's offense than Oregon was. But I also think that USC's defense is better than it was last year. Like, if you look at the numbers, like when it comes to success rate, points per drive allowed, EPA, they're not great. They're still mostly closer to average as far as nationally, but that's a pretty big improvement over what we saw from that team last year. The problem is they are giving up a ton of explosive plays, largely because they can't tackle. They're 89th in the country in missed tackle rate, which is, not great. And so I do think that there is the chance for Colorado's offense to at least make something happen in this game that they had absolutely no chance in hell in doing against Oregon last week. And like we saw Arizona State on Saturday night with Drew Pine able to run the ball against this USC defense. Pretty, not great, but pretty consistently enough to stay on the field. Scatabo made some plays, kept drives alive. Can Colorado find a run game in this one? I don't know. That's the biggest question for me, but they're going to have to, I think, to have any kind of legitimate shot of keeping this one respectable. So that's really what I'm going to be watching more than anything here.
Got some numbers for you. 545, 500, 520.
Are those yards allowed?
To TCU, Colorado State, and Oregon. Good offenses roll out of bed and put up 500 yards on this defense. Nebraska is the lone exception, and Nebraska's offense is an absolute dumpster fire, like self-inflicted, dumpster fire. I don't feel like this is a big game breakdown, right? Like, this doesn't feel big to me. There's other games I would rather discuss, to be perfectly frank. I understand why we do it, because YouTube juices anything we talk about with Colorado, Deion Sanders, Colorado,
No,
Heisman, Pac-12, Colorado, Deion Sanders. But like, it doesn't feel like a big game to me. If USC plays really well, they'll win by 28.
Yeah, but you're asking for something USC has not done. USC has not put together 4 quarters. This is a test for USC's maturity as a team that you're talking about to win the Pac-12 championship and contend for a national.
How many times do you do big game breakdown with a 3-touchdown spread? That's why it doesn't feel big.
With Oregon and Colorado.
I did the homework. I'll do my notes. Here are the players who played the most snaps for Colorado's defense against Oregon and where they came from. So let's just take off the Colorado off the helmet. And these are the level of players their defense is dealing with against Caleb Williams. Solomon Craig was an all SWAC corner. Now, look, I'll get hate for this. Blame Jeff Sagarin. The SWAC is one of the worst rated FCS conferences. Okay. NFL draft and transfer portal largely agree with me on that, by the way. So it's not my take. Let's blame the NFL. Blame Sagarin. Jaquez Robinson, 2 tackles in his 3-year career at Alabama. Jeremiah Brown, 53 tackles in 2 years at Jackson State. Jordan Dominic, not a starter at Arkansas. I actually thought he was a pretty decent SEC, reserve rotational guy. Juwan Mitchell, community college, then Texas, then Colorado, then Tennessee, then Colorado. Okay. He's all right. Leonard Payne, 35 career tackles at Fresno State in like 3 or 4 years. Duke Cooper, I actually think, is a decent player. Got benched at Florida State, kind of lost confidence. I think he actually has a chance to be a pretty good one. Shane Cokes was a good Ivy League player. Shiloh Sanders made second team All-SWAC in 2021. Taj Alston, who's in, I believe, his 7th year of college football, had 18 tackles in 12 games for West Virginia last year. Trevor Woods was on this terrible Colorado defense last year. And then their top reserves, Amari McNeil, who was like third or fourth string for Tennessee, Bishop Thomas, who was just complete scout team at Florida State, and Travis Jay, who was also scout team at Florida State. If we take the logo off and we take the hype off, I don't see the talent on this Colorado defense. There's a reason everybody with a pulse is putting up 500 yards. I think there's some chance Colorado can score a little bit on USC, but increasingly teams are figuring out a way to play this offense. And I think it's a well-coached Colorado football team for how inexperienced they are. Like, their ability to put all this stuff together has been extremely impressive to me. I think the coaching staff is worthy of a lot of praise.
It's easy
they don't
to
have guys
defend this.
defensively.
It's easy to defend the Colorado offense now because you don't have to worry about stopping the run. Like, you just drop 8 and rush 3, and you're probably going to get pressure at this point with that offensive line, and then make Sanders pick out from among your zone defense. Chip, you said USC has not played a complete 4 quarters. That's because nobody on USC has played 4 quarters for the most part.
Look at him there.
Like, Caleb, they had to play more snaps in the second half, obviously, this week against Arizona State because it was still close in the fourth quarter.
And San Jose State.
Like, Caleb didn't play in the second half against San Jose State.
Like, is Colorado's defense better than San Jose or Stanford?
21-14 at halftime.
Yeah, but how many fourth quarter snaps did Caleb play?
I'm just saying that there has not been a full 4 quarter. Like, we've not seen, like, USC ran it up on Nevada and they crushed Stanford. It was 49-3 at halftime of that one. But there have been 2 games this year against arguably the 2 best opponents that they've played. God, Arizona State or Stanford. That's a coin flip. Like,
when I was
seen the Trojans play with their food a little bit.
When I was in Tallahassee, when I was at Florida State, I had a lot of friends that were DGs, Delta Gammas. I like to study with them because I'd go over there before an exam, and they had this little folder. It was all the old exams that were in there. So I'd go over there and hang out. We'd prepare for our exams together. It was great preparation. You know what else there is now? There's a head coach's book that goes around too that coaches like to share, apparently. You know, I just got texted from 25 head coaches that sent me the game plan on how to beat Colorado. You know you know what it says? It says run it down their dang throat is what it says. That whole thing was such a joke. I just think it's going to be very similar to what happened to Oregon. The only intrigue, I think, is do they get points in the second half to potentially get a backdoor cover? Because what I saw, and Bud was onto this from day one, I was shocked that Shedeur was out there in the fourth quarter in a blowout when he's getting killed. Why are you risking his season getting him hurt? So, but that does tell me what Bud was saying. They want to give him some stats, want to make sure they get up there. So that's really the only thing that I think provides intrigue to this game. Second half, do they cover backdoor? Does it hit the over? Because I think USC, you mentioned them not playing a full 4 quarters, and this is something Colorado, like Deion, I'll say Deion, but even like his son and the social media team, they are writing checks now that Colorado cannot cash because they're still doing this, hey, we're going to talk a lot of smack, and it is waking up the opponents. And you saw Oregon's players, not Dan Lanning, their players after the game talking about what this game meant to them. It's going to be the same thing against USC. It's all about how invested are they? Do they pull their starters late? I think this game is absolutely dominated by USC as long as they want it to be.
Yeah. Colorado, we also don't know. Like, Xavier Weaver went down in that game late against Oregon. Again, we're trying to get our guys' numbers, but there is that risk if you play all those snaps. I saw him on the sidelines in one of the videos because Colorado doesn't have open practices except for their like in-house, reality show thing that they do. He was on the sideline joking around, did not jog at all. Then I saw him in the yellow jersey stretching, but he did not run any pass routes, at least not in practice. And I think the fact that he's out there stretching with the ankle that he had may imply that he will play. I don't know. If he doesn't play, that's a really big deal. I kind of want to talk USC a little bit, though. Like, Caleb is doing a ton of Mahomes stuff this year. Like, he's not playing within structure very much at all. USC's offense is not really in sync from a passing standpoint yet. They are running the ball fairly well. Like, Marshawn Lloyd, the kid they got from South Carolina in the portal, is like a legitimate stud, it looks like. I don't know if Colorado can do much about it unless Caleb really presses, right? If he's willing, like Bo Nix took the profit. Colorado's like, hey, we're going to play a don't get blown out defense, which like Deion was managing the image of that game from snap one.
Oh, and Oregon was like 8 yards per play. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly what we would like to do.
No doubt. Like that, Colorado wanted to limit explosives. They punted in opponent territory. They did not want Oregon to win by 60. Deion's not an idiot. Deion didn't talk any smack that whole week. He knew what was coming. I think he understands the quality of player that some of these teams have versus what he is. Now his players talked a ton of smack, and that's why Oregon's players were so fired up. And if you watch all their TikToks, they sampled some of that stuff that the players were putting out. But Colorado, if they play this drop 8 stuff again and just complete, like, don't blitz, try to slow the game down when in the red zone. If Caleb's not patient, he could throw a pick or two and turn things around,
We talked earlier in the show about like offensive linemen protecting their quarterbacks, and we're talking about, Connor Wegman suffering friendly fire. I think the only thing that could really stop USC in this game is if they keep snapping the ball into Caleb's nuts. Like, you have to be on the better lookout for your QB. You can't be doing that to him. This is the leader of your team. You can't have him, doubled over in pain trying to catch his breath. That's just not going to work.